Welcome back to the 801 Diaries podcast. I'm Abby.
And I'm Emily.
How you doing, Emily?
Doing good. Doing pretty good. How are you doing, Abs?
Doing good. We are having to use my laptop for this one, and
Yes.
my laptop has it's seen better days, and that's all I'm gonna say on that. So if things are a little like the connection doesn't seem very great, that is why. So
Yeah.
but we have to use my laptop because I'm in St. George
Which
enjoying the
I'm
beautiful sun and heat.
so jealous of,
It is
honestly.
gorgeous. It is
It
gorgeous here.
looks it
So
looks so nice. But
yeah.
luckily, I'll be there in a month with you. So you're just getting it
Yes.
ready. You're just getting
Just
the
warming
vibes
up that
ready.
pool,
Yep.
peeing in it first so I can claim my territory,
There you go.
all those
Gotta make
things.
sure. Gotta make sure.
Yeah.
So fun.
Um, but yeah, so if this is a little wackadoo, that's why.
That's why.
Um,
No biggie.
but how are you doing, Emily?
I'm doing good. I went up to visit our family today, so I spent the afternoon with them, and
How are they?
they are great as always.
So good.
So fun. So it's really fun. Our dad is he needs some new sauna door handles. And so he asked me to ask our uncle, like, hey, where could we get some? Because I don't know where to get them because the ones we have were made by a different uncle, and so it was a whole thing, whatever. And so I asked our uncle, and I was like, "Hey, where do I get these?" And he goes, How big do you want them?" And I don't know. And he's like, "Well, give me a second." He like says to his wife, he's like, give me paper and a pen." And then he starts sketching out these door handles and like different ways that he wants, like he thinks they would. And then all of a sudden, I go out to leave, and he disappeared after a while. Like he's like, "When do you need these by?" And I was like, "Well, like a month." And he's like, "Okay." He's like, "I'm gonna make them. We're not gonna buy you any. I'm gonna make them." I was like, "Oh, that's so sweet."
Cute.
So then I'm going to leave, and I'm going to get in the car, and I look, and he's in his shed with a bunch of different pieces of wood, just like already starting to make these door
That's
handles.
so cute.
I was dying. It was so cute. I just was so
I
like,
love them.
it was adorable. It was so fun to hang out with them today and everything like that. So, that's kind of my newest thing. Also, Abby, I got to
Yes.
talk to you about this because this is really, so I started running as we know now.
Yes.
Like I think as of last week, I started running
Hmm.
and I hate it. Does
I'm
it
telling
get
you, the
better?
first month sucks.
Because
Once you get
it's
over 5 or 6 miles is when it gets fun. But you have to get to
See,
5 or 6 miles before it gets fun. And most people quit before you get to 5 or 6 miles.
because I'm not going to be getting, because according to the training plan, because I decided to set the training plan at I cannot run a single step
Yes.
because I don't run. So I didn't start with like running a bunch of miles.
Yes.
Um, and so it doesn't have me getting to those 5 or 6 miles till beginning of July. And I don't know if I can handle it because I finished running on Friday after it was my long run on Friday, whatever. And I just cried. I was like, I hate this
How long
so
was it?
much. It was 40 minutes, but
Okay.
it was cycling, it was just 40 minutes of running for 3 minutes, walking for one, running for
Gotcha.
three, walking for one, kind of a
That
thing.
makes sense.
Ended up being like 2.5 miles or
Gotcha.
something like that. But I hated it.
Yes. And you will hate it up until once you get past like a 5K,
Okay.
then I would say a 5K sucks. Like it just sucks. There's
Okay.
nothing to say other than it just sucks. From a 5K to like 5 or 6 miles, you're kind of in a groove. So it's less unenjoyable. After
Okay.
5 or 6 is when it actually gets fun,
Okay.
I would say. But no, you just have to push through because it sucks.
It's the worst thing I've ever done.
Yeah.
I actually just hate it.
Well, and because like I'm doing restarting, well, not restarting, but doing a new training plan. So I'm kind of starting from the beginning.
Yeah.
So I mean, our long run yesterday was 4.5. So we were close, but like still not at
No.
the fun part. And it's miserable. It is
Okay.
miserable. My long runs are definitely my favorite runs of the week. The shorter
Okay.
ones in the week, I hate them and I hate
Hate
doing
them.
them. Long
Okay.
runs are fun. So
Good
you
to know.
just have to push through. Like that's really all
Okay.
it is.
I'm gonna have
Because it
to.
does suck. It does suck.
Yeah, because it was. I will say though, the when I did run on Saturday, because I that was Friday that I hated it. Saturday I did chug an energy drink before, and that did help. Because I will say I did run after. Oh, there's a bird.
That was terrifying. Oh my gosh.
Terrifying. I did run after work on Friday, and I didn't like have any caffeine or any energy before I went on this long, and
Yes.
that I think also made me hate my
I
life a lot.
I'll also say after work runs suck. Running in the morning is so much better than running after work. And unfortunately, I can only run in the morning on Saturdays because I work so
Yeah.
gosh dang early that there's no way I could run before work. I would be
Yeah.
getting like 2 hours of sleep. But so Saturday morning runs are the best because they're the long runs, so you're running longer,
Hmm.
and they're early in the morning. You can have some caffeine. You don't have all the food in you from all day. Like
Yeah.
long Saturday morning long runs are the best runs.
Okay.
So just be prepared. Your weekly runs are going to suck. Anything below 5 miles is going to suck, but
We'll get there.
it gets better. It
Okay.
gets better. And then you get to the point where while those weekly runs do suck, they're so short that it's like,
It's like,
it's no big
whatever.
deal. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm
But
just gonna
no,
have
that
to.
first month is pure HE double hockey sticks.
Yeah, it's horrible. I hate it.
Mm-hmm.
I hate it.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see how it keeps going, but we're
Yep.
getting there.
Yep.
That's my update on that. Anything else going on with you, Abs?
Um, Not really. Running again. I took like a week and a half off on accident. It was only supposed to be a week, but ended up being like a week and a half off running. But we're back in it now. So we're cruising. We're cruising.
There
We're
you
going to be
go.
changing to like full marathon plan training soon because right
Oh,
now I'm just doing
really?
a half training plan.
When are you switching to
So
full?
middle of June.
Okay. Is Maddie running
So
the full with you
she's
in
going to
December?
train with me. She's training
Okay.
with me and she's still figuring it out if she wants to do
Okay.
it or not. We're talking about you. She's sitting by the pool.
There you
So
go. There you go.
she's right there. Um,
Because there's a lot of us running this December race,
yeah, we're a running family now. It's kind of crazy.
so it'll be fun.
Um,
I'm
so
not doing the full
I have
marathon though.
I am. Well, as of right now, I am. I could always break a leg or
So
snap an
true.
ankle, and that would really put a stop to my plans. But
But
assuming that doesn't happen, my plan is the full.
amazing.
Um, but we have something really important to talk about real quick.
Okay.
Last week's episode was all about Sunrise on the Reaping. Okay.
Yeah.
And one could say that this book has caused us to lose our minds a little bit. One could say,
One could
okay.
say.
Judy called us out so hard in the comments. Did you see it?
Yeah, she was so mean. I replied.
She said, it's just a book, period.
Just,
It is not just a book, Judy. This book it ruined my life.
it's ruined my life. It's changed my life fundamentally. And
Fundamentally.
I can't get over it. I can't. I was listening to our podcast, like listening to the episode, crying. Because
I was at work, like trying to not start crying from what we were saying about this book. Not even the book, what I had once already said about this book.
You're so bad. Yeah, Judy
This book
called us
ruined my
out.
life. She did so hard.
I was funny. I was talking to Judy kind of halfway through of her listening to the podcast, and she said she was trying, like she was about to get to the point where we gave like the spoiler alert. I love that we in the middle of it we're like, okay, we'll put a timestamp of when it ends, and it never ended. It was the
It
rest
never
of the
ended.
episode.
It
But
was. We talked about that a little longer than we had originally planned. We had other things to talk about that we didn't get to, that we'll get to this week. But
but it was so funny. And she's like, I just don't know if I want the book spoiled for the story, like spoiled for me yet. She's like, but I just want to see you guys cry. It's like, well, you'll see us cry because we're bawling,
yeah.
like full sobbing
Yep.
about it. And I still will sob if I talk too long about it. So we're not gonna focus on that. But one thing we also need to cover we need to roast every listener we've ever had because
What
somehow,
the heck
what
happened?
the heck happened to the villain bracket? How did President Coin and President Snow get beat out by Mother Gothel and freaking what's his name?
Jafar? Wasn't it
Randall, but
Jafar?
no, it was Randall
It
and
was
Mother.
Randall.
How in the
You
world
guys,
are you guys
are you real?
crazy? How did the Disney villains beat President Coin and President Snow?
People
Like,
need to go back and watch the Hunger Games again because obviously again, I will say this. Randall Boggs was just a misunderstood guy. Okay. He just
yeah,
wanted to be the best there. And you know what? Snow was more evil than Randall Boggs.
yeah.
Everyone needs to go watch the Hunger Games
I was
because I'm really nervous about where we're at as a society.
I was shocked. I could not believe it. I mean, I'm not mad about where it ended with how it what it came to because Darth Vader I feel like is a
He's
good
very iconic.
he's an iconic villain, but we were going for like villain, not iconic. And I'm sorry, the Hunger Games villains are the best villains.
I know. Other than kill a bunch of kids once, okay, Snow killed a bunch of kids every year. Once, what did Darth Vader, and that was Anakin, what did Darth Vader really do other than march around looking angry?
He blew up Alderaan, and that's about it. That is one
Okay, see, I
planet.
forgot about that.
I did too. But that's
That's
only
a whole planet.
that's one small planet.
Yeah. Okay. And he just did that because he was angry at Leia. Like
Yeah. Well,
it
it
was
wasn't
just
even
like
him.
bad
Wasn't it?
parenting.
Wasn't it the other guy? Wasn't it the sunken in face guy who
I
did
think so.
and because in that first one, Darth Vader isn't like the full villain. He's just kind of like
Well,
the lackey on the side
that's the thing because like the
until the Death Star gets
Emperor
blown
is
up.
the one who's like all about the Death Star. Like I feel like Darth Vader's kind of just there. I
He's
don't
just kind of
know.
there. I feel like especially in the first one, the only thing he
Yeah,
does in the first one, like really, kills Obi-Wan, but he really doesn't even kill him because he gives up
that's true.
because he knows he's going to be a Force ghost, so he knows he'll
Yeah.
do better that way.
He's like, why lug around this body when I could be a Force ghost? And
You know,
honestly, same.
same,
Period,
bro.
King, you know?
But
Um,
but I
but I
I
will accept
I
Darth Vader.
I will accept Darth Vader, but I need you all to reevaluate your lives where you picked Randall Boggs over President Coin. Like truly, I
Yeah.
think we need to have a chat because this is
I would
wild.
I would definitely agree with you because it was kind of I was shocked.
We kept texting each
Shocked.
other. Like we were texting each other as the results were coming in. Like this is insane. Like why is this happening? And we were like, we're gonna have to have a chat with you guys. And
Yeah,
this is the chat.
because I think the main takeaway here is everyone needs to go rewatch the Hunger Games or go reread the books because I think you guys have forgotten
How
what what really happened
I
there. You
think
know,
so as well. Especially
kind
if
of
we're
crazy.
especially if we're thinking Randall is more of a villain.
Yeah.
Like
Yep.
we need to figure it out.
So that's everyone's homework. Go rewatch the Hunger Games. And then send us an apology. And
Thank
that's what
you.
we require of you all. So
Every single person. So,
everyone who
Judy?
voted for Judy, it's not just a book, okay? It's a life-changing piece of art,
Exactly.
a life-ruining piece of art, but also my favorite thing I've ever read.
Yeah,
Anyways,
that's the housekeeping item I really needed to talk about.
address. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Is there any pop culture things that we have today?
I mean, there was the Haley Bieber being the cover of Vogue, and Justin Bieber had some things to say about it. And
Did
I'm gonna say my piece real quick about this.
Okay, let's hear.
I think that they are straight up trolling us. I think it is rage bait at this point
Yeah.
because I mean, I think Justin Bieber has way too many people checking what he's posting, things like that, for it to not be rage bait. Also, it's come out that like PR companies were paying influencers to like talk bad about or to create drama about them,
Yeah.
kind of a thing. So
Yeah.
I think it is absolutely rage bait. You're fine. You're good. And But I think it is absolutely hilarious. If it is not rage bait, anyway. Oh wait, we should say what they said for those who don't know.
Okay.
Hailey Bieber is on the cover of Vogue. Okay, this month
It's
which
her
is a
first
big
cover.
deal.
It's a big
It's
deal.
a big deal to be on the cover of Vogue. So Justin Bieber made this post saying, "I remember one time we were having a fight, and I said you'll never be on the cover of Vogue," and some other things, and then congrats, babe. I was sadly mistaken. And sadly mistaken is a wild thing to say.
Because that's
A
that's the
wild thing.
that's really where so much of it goes downhill on what he said if it's not rage bait. Because being
Yes.
sadly, you should be gratefully mistaken in this
Yeah.
point.
Like, good thing I was wrong is what he should have
Yeah.
said.
I also, if this is again, if we're gonna analyze this on the idea of it's not rage bait, because we do think it's rage bait, so whatever. But if it's not, just the idea of that is an insult that stuck with her and stuck with him that he just hurled and it cut her deep. That
Mm-hmm.
it was so in like
Memorable.
memorable that when she did get the cover, he's like, "Remember
He's
that
going to
fight
bring it
when I
up
told you you weren't gonna be on the cover of
when you
Vogue?"
weren't going to be on the cover of Vogue.
Wild.
Wild. And then Justin Bieber came out and was performing with SZA, I think,
Yeah.
and started kissing her hand, which
He did not
again,
look great.
weird. I'm not going to
Yeah.
lie, weird. And there's just a lot. There's just a lot of things.
There's just a lot of
And
thoughts and feelings, and I don't know how much.
however, I will say this. I will defend Justin Bieber until the day I die because this man has been through so very much.
Oh
He's
yeah.
probably having one of the worst years of his life with
Yes.
the whole Diddy
Diddy
trial, and
trial.
he's a brand new dad. Like, there's so much going on in
Yeah.
his life. I will defend him until the day I die
No,
because
absolutely. Poor kid. Like
so there is
just
no there. I think it is rage bait, and there is no slander here.
yeah. Agreed.
Anyways, but I think that's the only pop culture thing I have. Do you have anything?
I was looking back at our notes. There is one thing we'll talk on it briefly because it's kind of old news at this point, but I kind of still just want to put it out there. Have you seen the Yellowstone National Park TikTok page?
I think so.
It's where someone keeps stitching these like they're supposed to they do like they're like muscly men who do spicy content on TikTok, and like they're stitching it being like, "Oh, do you want to come see me?" And then it pans to the Yellowstone and it's like
So
people
I
have you
definitely have
not
not seen this.
it's actually hilarious because it's like the funniest thing. It's just them like rage baiting the Yellowstone National Park. And then all of a sudden, because it was getting so much traction with Yellowstone, all of the national parks TikTok accounts started make you like go watch from the Yellowstone page. Don't try to find the original
The
creator.
original, yeah.
Go to the Yellowstone pages and the like all of the national parks because for some reason all of these national parks have TikTok accounts.
Well, of course.
Of course. And it's actually hilarious and it makes me laugh every time because it's just and then all the comment then there's like just tons of TikToks of people being like, "Have you guys seen what's going on with Yellowstone?" like like
Like,
what is
what's going on
happening?
with Yellowstone? That's
So
funny.
I just think it's hilarious. It hasn't been as big of a trend in the past like week or so, but I still just wanted to laugh about it because it's hilarious.
Oh, that's really funny. I love all of these companies who obviously have like a Gen Z intern just
Oh, just
losing their minds on TikTok. It's so
it's
funny.
so funny. It makes me so happy.
It's
I
incredible. I love it.
love it. I love it. I love the TikToks of like going on a flight for 5 hours, convinced me that a brand commented, and just seeing all the most unhinged brands. Like you're like, why are you on
Like, why
TikTok?
is
A,
Arm& and Hammer commenting on this?
why?
Like,
Yeah, yeah. Or why do you have a TikTok and why are you commenting on random things? Like to be the Gen Z TikTok person would be so fun.
it's incredible. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, I
So
mean, remember Butterfingers TikTok for the longest time, which was like possessed by a demon? That was insane. That was absolutely insane.
that was wild. So I just think it's so funny. So that's my TikTok thing for today that I just
Hmm.
wanted to chat about for a sec.
Hmm. Also, when I was editing last week's podcast, we talk a lot. Well, not a lot, but we do mention in the episode that like this is the longest episode ever, or whatever. So long. It was not our longest episode ever.
Was
So
it
really, we
not?
could have no. Our Twilight one was like a minute longer.
Oh my
So
gosh.
we have more to say. You want to hear more?
If you
Let us
want a
know. We'll do
part
a
two,
part two.
let us know.
We will
Um,
do more.
because we can talk for hours.
And apparently we could have talked longer because it was not our longest episode. So
So we are we'll even do a special episode. We'll do a midweek episode if you guys
midweek
want.
episode. Yeah.
Just about more Centers on the Reaping / Hunger Games.
Yeah.
Because we love it
Because
so much.
I'm kind of in my reading era right now. And so I want to reread the original trilogy, and I think I'm going to. I just need to get it.
Yeah.
And so we're gonna have a lot to say.
We're gonna have a lot to say. I just, yeah. I think we can read them together, so then we can really have a lot to say.
That's true. We could do book club.
Guys, would you guys want a book club? We'll be reading The Hunger Games because
Yeah. It'll be a 4 book club. Maybe 5. Maybe we'll reread Sunrise.
We will. We'll do it. And because we'll do a book club.
We'll do book club.
It will be about the Hunger Games, and then after Hunger Games, who knows? Twilight.
See, I've never read Twilight, so honestly, I don't know if I could get through Twilight. Like, truly, I don't know if I could get through Twilight.
We'll see. We'll cross that bridge later after we finished our Hunger Games book club.
Yeah.
That will start if one single person says they want to do it
on a book club, we're starting a book club.
We're starting a book club. So
summer book club. Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh. I'm gonna be on planes.
This might be happening.
We'll post TikToks and stuff about this more to get it really going. But watch out.
Anyways. Okay.
Okay. Do
we have other things to talk about? Anything else before we get into the main topic?
I think that's it.
All right. So our main topic today is there was a show that me and Emily both love and adore that came out with its series finale.
Yes.
And we have so many things to say. That show is You. It's you, not you.
Hello. You. So good.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit about this. Let's talk about the show kind of before this last season.
Okay.
Kind of give our thoughts on what we were, how we were feeling going into this last season.
Okay.
So I loved the first season so very much. That still is my favorite season. I loved it so much.
Beck was so good.
I've rewatched that season multiple times because I love that one.
It's amazing.
I think Beck was my favorite love interest. I think she was the most like interesting out of all of them.
I agree.
So I love season 1. For those of you who don't know, the premise of the show is this guy, Joe Goldberg, Penn Badgley, he's just a hopeless romantic. He just loves love, and he just wants love in his life. He just wants to be a happy little love guy.
He sees someone and he just instantly falls in love.
Instantly, very love at first sight.
Yeah, very much.
And he will literally do anything to make this person happy, including maybe, if there's people around them that he feels are hurting them, he'll get rid of them.
He has a little cagey cage that he will.
He has a little cagey cage he likes to lock people in, and then murder,
dispose of them.
Anyways, it's about the serial killer whose motivation is love.
Yes,
and it's a wild show. It is so wild.
It is really, and it's really crazy. Like, it's a crazy show. But I think it is such a uniquely perspectived show because you're when you're watching it, you're in his you're in his brain. Like most of the show, most of the speech in the show is his inner monologue, which is wild to follow because it obviously Joe, bad dude,
bonkers.
Serial killer. But just hearing the way that his brain works and the justification of it is so wild, and just he's the perfect like anti-hero.
Well, that's the thing, because obviously the show is from his perspective. So everything he's doing, he feels is justified.
Yeah.
So from an outside perspective, of course, it's absolutely insane, crazy, terrifying, the whole thing. But from his perspective, it is all justified.
Yeah.
So it is absolutely the most interesting thing ever. And I love this show. And I think, especially, we'll get into this last season. I think this is a really important show, especially for young women to be watching,
Absolutely.
especially this last season. This last
Yes.
season,
Oh,
we'll get
we'll
into
get
it.
into it. But
But
absolutely.
basically, every season has a new love interest. So
Yes.
I want to rank them real quick. Season
Okay.
1 through 4. Let's rank. Number one, Beck. I love Beck so much. Love, love, love
Yes.
Beck.
Loved
Number
Beck.
two, probably Marianne. I like Marianne.
Yeah. Marianne was good.
Number three is Love. I didn't
Yep.
love Love as much as other people did, but
I didn't love her, but there's things I liked about her a lot. I
yes.
like but I don't, she wasn't one of my favorites.
Yeah. And then number four is Kate.
Yes.
I don't like Kate, but we'll
I
talk
don't
about
like it.
season five. We'll talk about season five, Kate.
Yeah.
Anyways, season four, Kate. I did not like season four, Kate. But
Mhm. Yeah.
so, anyways, he starts with him in New York. He has to leave New York. He goes to LA for a little while, has to leave LA, goes to
Goes
England for a
to,
little
yeah.
while. And then season four ends with him coming back to New York. So he's back in New York for season five.
Yes.
And I think it was such a wonderful way to end the show, because a lot of the problem with a show like this is like, how do you end it?
Yeah.
Because a lot of people love Joe, and for good reason. They've made him a very likable character in a lot of ways. Again,
Yeah.
serial killer, so there's that. But in
But
a lot of
yeah.
in a lot of ways, he's a very likable character. He's a very, like, you're able to empathize with him
Hmm.
because it's from his inner monologue.
Yes. That's,
So,
but
but it's
also, even without his inner monologue, if you're watching just kind of, if you're just watching it from the love interest perspective, he's also like, till he cracks in front of you, he seems like a good guy up
yeah,
until the crack. There's a
yes,
crack every season, obviously, but up
yes.
until then, he does seem and puts off this as a good person. And he even convinces you, as like, he convinces the girl for a minute that the crack is
What he's
okay.
and what he's doing is
Good.
for their benefit, and
Yeah.
like they need him to do this kind of a thing in order to live a good life or like be happy.
Exactly.
But so at the end of season four, there is the final crack where he has fully come to terms with this aspect of his personality,
Yes.
and he is all good with it. Like, all good. It's what must be done to
Hmm.
protect the people he loves.
Yes.
So a lot of season five is dealing with that, with him.
He's married to Kate. They got custody of his kid Henry back again.
Mm-hmm.
And they're living, and she's this like superhuman businesswoman, and he's the trophy husband.
Yes.
And I think,
Yes.
and that obviously plays a huge role in as to
Yes.
why he ends up doing the things he does for this season. But
Yes.
yeah, sorry, continue.
But anyways, yeah. But so the a lot of the season, so the first half of season five, I thought was really slow. Second half
Very
of
slow.
season five was incredible. The best TV I've ever
Yeah,
seen in my life.
it just was crazy. Yeah.
Yes. So basically, Joe's unhappy with his life because he is, again, this trophy husband and he has no purpose, kind of a thing. So he finds purpose through, taking care of things. And
Yes.
that causes a whole big problem in his marriage. Anyways, he finds this other girl that he has now decided she is the love of my life. And what was her name? Bronte.
Bronte.
What are your thoughts on Bronte? First half of the season, Bronte.
First half of the season, Bronte, I just thought she's just another girl that Joe is I didn't really have any opinion on her. I didn't like her, but I also just kind of, I felt like the first half of the season, and like with the, it felt very reminiscent of season 3 when he was with Love and Marianne. Like that kind of
Yeah.
a, It just felt kind of played out,
dynamic.
and so Bronte just kind of felt like okay, like I didn't have much of an
Yeah.
opinion. Second half, when we got all the information, that changed. But first half, I
Yeah.
just kind of was like, okay, it's just another person for Joe.
Yeah. I could not stand Bronte. I literally could not stand her. She drove me nuts. I think because what we learned towards the end is she is supposed to be the personification of the audience because throughout all of this nearly 10-year run of the show,
Has it been that
everyone has
long?
been saying, yeah, he started it when he was 30 and he's 39 now. So it was
Oh my
nearly 10
gosh,
years.
that's crazy.
But everyone has been saying like, oh, I can fix Joe. Like if Joe were to meet me, everyone has really humanized this person who
Yeah,
at his core is a
is
serial killer, is a
yeah, is
very,
a
very bad person.
he is an like just a purely evil dude.
Yes. So we learn, through the season that she's supposed to be kind of a personification of the audience.
Hmm.
But I think that's why I hated her so much because she was so freaking annoying. And coming from a rational perspective, the audience is so freaking annoying. Like
Yeah.
how
Oh yeah.
ridiculous of us to humanize this person. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Well, I mean,
so
that's what Penn says in every interview for every time a season comes out.
yes.
He hate like there's
No one
it,
hates
Joe
Joe Goldberg more than
like
Ben Badgley.
than Penn Badgley. And
Mhm.
I mean like hats off to Penn for doing because I think Penn did this character perfectly. I don't know if
Absolutely.
anyone else could have done this character.
Absolutely.
And I think it also comes from his hatred of Joe Goldberg and his rationalness behind it. That when he gets into the mind of Joe, he can kind of just be a little crazy because it's just driving him crazy how much Joe is Joe, kind of
Mm-hmm.
a thing. Does that
Yeah.
make sense?
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Makes perfect sense. But so let's get into like the last two episodes because I think those are the most important.
Yes, I agree.
So, oh, we should have said earlier, they're spoilers.
Oh, yeah.
Anyways, big spoilers. But anyways, so we come to find out that Bronte is not real. That's not really her name. She knew Beck. So Beck was his
I
original love.
I loved that they brought Beck back because I
I love
love
Beck
Beck
so
and I
much.
loved being able to see her and expand her character more, even though
Yes.
she died in season one.
Yes. I love Beck so much. So it was really exciting having her come back.
Yeah.
But so we find out that she knew Beck. And so her name's Louisa, right?
Yes.
Louisa, something like that.
I think it's Louisa.
So she and a couple of friends have been like researching Joe, figuring out this thing, and they know that Joe killed Beck is kind of what they've come.
Yeah.
And so now they're trying to prove that. They're trying to prove that Joe killed Beck. This all comes to light, and Louisa kind of is like, oh, okay, but I still kind of love Joe. Maybe he was right. Maybe there was something that happened.
Yeah.
And then she believes that he didn't kill Beck. He
Beck.
convinces her that she didn't kill Beck. He did kill other people, but he didn't kill Beck and all of these things. So,
Yeah.
anyways, then um there's a fire in the bookstore. And I loved the confrontation between Marianne and Bronte. Like I thought that was so beautifully done.
So good. Yeah.
So good because Marianne's character is someone who was the same in the sense of she was a lost soul. She didn't really feel like she had anyone else. She
Hmm.
was looking for someone to save her, kind of a thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I feel
And
like no one else could have really connected with Bronte in that way other than
yeah.
Marianne. So I think
Well,
because
because like
like
Kate obviously couldn't. Kate was not in that
no.
same, and Love and
Well,
Beck are
and
dead.
Kate was
So
the current wife. Kate was the current wife. So like it would obviously
it just
come
wasn't,
from
yeah,
a
a different
jealous wife
place.
place. Yeah. So I thought that that was so good. And I love how they had Nadia come back. Getting Nadia out of jail was so great. Oh my
So
gosh. I
good.
loved that so much.
They
If you
really
haven't seen the show, this
no
makes
sense.
no sense.
But if you have, I think I really loved the tie-in, the connections of everybody. Because wasn't even John Stamos in there for a hot
I
second? There was
think
a
so.
flashback
I
of
think
him, or at
there
least
was
or
a
something.
flashback. I think it was just a flashback, but they did bring
But
him
but
like
still,
bring
there
that
was
character back.
they brought back so many people, and I just thought it was done so well. The confrontation of Marianne and Bronte, because I
I
just
thought
call
that
her
was so
Bronte
great.
because that's who she was.
Yeah.
But I just thought it was done so well. Kate just giving it up at the end, just being like, okay,
I will say last half of season 5 really made me like Kate's character. I
agreed.
really, really, really liked Kate's because I could not stand her before.
I hated
But
Kate.
she did like, because obviously she has things in her past that she regrets and bad things that she has done. And she used that as a way to sympathize with Joe. But I think it
Yes.
showed such a beautiful way of saying, like, yes, you can have done bad things, but that doesn't mean you're going to continue to do bad things or continue to let bad things happen. Like, you can
You can
change and
stop and
grow
change. Yeah.
and like kind of and be a
Yeah.
better person. I loved her arc, even though,
I
okay,
well, go ahead.
how did she get out of that fire? they they never explained how she got out of that
I
fire.
know. That was the thing. I was like,
And just like this much explanation would have made it make sense. I honestly do kind of wish she would have died because I think it would have been more well-rounded of an ending for her. But
for
I
her,
like her, so I'm glad she survived in that way.
yeah.
That
And
makes
I'm
sense.
glad she was able to just go live with Henry. I did love how
Yeah,
she just took Henry and made him her son. Like that
yeah,
was her son. Like I
yeah.
did really, like they said, they probably shouldn't have taken him from his adopted parents, but at least she really just
She made it a better
became his mom.
situation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like I think I did really like that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's go back to Bronte.
Okay.
So they kind of have this confrontation about Joe. She finds out that, he did kill people, but she is then just convinced. Like I think her character and watching her is such a cautionary tale for women
Absolutely.
because it's we talk, I mean, the thing is, you talk about it all the time. You see pictures of Ted Bundy and all these things, and you're like, man, a hot serial killer.
If I was there, he would
If
have
I was
got
there,
me.
he would have got me. The thing is like it was very interesting to see how she was, if you're caught at like a vulnerable time, how just the littlest thing they can just get in there, these predators like this can get in and just change your whole
But
everything.
the thing that is so interesting about this is that was the lesson from episode 1.
Yeah.
Like it took 5 seasons for the audience to really capture how terrifying this man was.
Yeah.
And I think especially like I've watched the last episode a couple of times because
Hmm.
genuinely I have never been more terrified in my life. I think this episode was scarier than any horror movie I've seen, any like, anything scary that I've ever experienced. This episode was scarier because you finally got to see Joe do his thing. You
Yeah.
don't see him kill his love interests at all. Like it was very intentionally skipped over throughout the seasons,
Yeah.
but you saw it in this episode. Like when he says, "You want to know how I killed Beck?" Like this is like,
Oh,
let me show you kind of thing as he's strangling this poor girl. Like genuinely nothing has ever scared me more because this is a character that we have grown to love.
yeah.
Like psychotically we have grown to love this character. So to see him that
In
terrifying was jarring to say the least, but really
yeah.
it was such a great moment to reflect on like what have
Yes.
I done kind of thing.
Well,
And I think that's kind of what happened when these people get into these relationships is there does come a moment where it's like what have I done? What have I
mhm.
allowed myself to do and to be in and to be treated like? And like there it was right in front of us kind of a thing. Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah. Okay, so one thing that I find interesting about this last episode really of the season of the series is when he breaks, when he cracks with Bronte, is that where
Yes.
his inner dialogue stops? Are we not hearing his inner dialogue for a while? If I haven't watched it in a minute, but if I remember correctly, during that whole escape scene, fight scene, I don't believe we're hearing his inner dialogue.
I don't think so. I think it's just hers, if I remember right, which
Okay.
I also found super interesting because you don't hear the female's inner monologue very often. You do a
No.
couple of times, but not very often at all. So it was a noticeable shift when we started to hear her inner dialogue. And I think
Right.
that started on the second to last episode. But I don't think there's his inner monologue during that. I think
Which
it's
is
just hers.
which I think is very interesting because that is where like we see full Joe, and
Yeah.
it's very interesting to not be blocked by what he's thinking.
Yes.
And I just think that like it just shows that full range of Joe that like we don't get to see in the rest of the series, and kind of like how we were talking a minute ago about just the possibility of women getting into these situations and not really understanding and not getting to see the full thing, because you don't really get to see it a lot of the time. You get
Yeah.
like these little snippets, and you might hear that
You get the
they
love
did
bombing.
something. You get the love bombing. I really hope that it's not a common occurrence that women find out that their partner had killed somebody for them, to protect them or whatever. But I think just with like the little things of like trying to make these little red flags and really like horrible things like okay. But and so I thought it was very interesting that finally when Bronte realizes how snapped Joe actually is,
Mhm.
that's when the inner dialogue stops, because I think that's so fascinating for
Yes.
our perspective as viewers, especially as
Yes.
women viewers for
Yeah.
watching it all.
Well, and I think Louisa says something really poignant in this point. She said he calls her Bronte, and she says, "My name is Louisa. Like you tried to erase who I was, but I'm not going to let you do any that anymore." Kind of like something to that extent, which I think
Yeah,
is so interesting because even, I mean, obviously on a much smaller scale, we've all had, relationships or friendships or something like that where we feel like we have to be a different person or that person
yeah.
wants a different person from us.
Hmm.
And so I think it was a really relatable way to showcase like how these relationships do fundamentally change you. Like they
Yeah,
do change who you are as a person.
yeah. Yeah, I think it's so interesting too, because by that point he did know the whole backstory between Bronte and Louisa, and but he wanted that fictional version of herself, and
Mm-hmm.
he tried to keep that person, that part alive, and that's what he wanted. But I just think it was so, I don't know, just being out in the woods like they were. It was dark, it's rainy. I don't know. It just was.
Well, and she says something else. She says something like the fictional version of men like you is how we deal with real men like you, which I think is
Yeah.
so interesting because I feel like there is an epidemic right now of these like morally gray characters, you know what I mean, where
Yeah.
they do something bad, oh, but they love her so much, so it's okay.
Yeah.
Where that is
That's
not okay. Like
that's
that
not
is
okay.
not okay.
I also think though, with in the perspective of her saying that, I think a lot of the time, especially there's a hyper fascination with women and true crime and
Yep.
serial killers and everything. And I mean, I fall into that. I love a true crime thing. I haven't been into it, as much. I kind of stepped away from it, but I think especially like during COVID and like around COVID time, there was such a deep chokehold that the
Mm-hmm.
true crime content had,
Yeah.
especially on women, that I think is just interesting, because I think she's exactly right, where women specifically in this like use those stories, those people like Joe, to either preemptively know how they would deal with it, or kind of preemptively protect themselves, or just kind of like it's very interesting from that perspective, versus like the necessarily like trying to fix a morally gray man, but like a self-defense, like a
Mm-hmm.
pre-self-defense for women, because I think that's a lot of the time, because people always ask like why, because they're like, I don't know, a lot of people we know all really like true crime and that kind of stuff, and it's like, well, why? And so I think that's something and I think that's one of the things that appeals about you, is like you can kind of get inside of them, and it's like inside of the brain of the serial killer, and you can kind of know what to look out for, maybe. Like that's kind of what the thought process behind it is. But I
Mm-hmm.
don't think that it ends up being, because Louisa did it obviously to try and get back at him, but she, to try and avenge Beck or whatever, the doctor.
Yeah.
Um, and so it's just interesting how, you go in, like she went into it so skeptical and trying not to get looped in, but she
Mm-hmm.
was like, once Joe attached, she got brought into it as well. And I think that's a really interesting perspective to look at
Yeah.
with her.
Well, and I think like what you're saying, like what them like the self-defense or thing, I think that's how it starts. I think that's why originally like people are
Yeah.
like, oh, like I wonder how this person, attacked people or whatever. So like I can be aware kind of thing. But I think it has
It's
dramatically
gone.
shifted. I
Yeah.
think it's dramatically shifted from that to fascination with morally gray characters.
Yeah.
Like I feel like all of the like books coming out nowadays are all of these objectively evil people, but
Hmm.
because oh they just love me so much, like it's
It's
okay
fine.
that they're doing these things because they love me and they're doing it
Hmm.
to protect me. Where I think in like a lot of like fiction writing or things like that, it's it's a lot more separated from real life, so people don't
Yeah.
see it as the same kind of a thing, where this was
Right.
obviously a very plausible situation someone could get themselves into.
Hmm.
So I don't know, I find it, I feel like yes it started there, but that's not why people are watching true crime nowadays or
Yeah.
reading
No.
books or like things
Yeah.
like that.
No, I get that. I see that. I think it's just very interesting, and I think if you watch and listen to Penn go through his press junket
His
for
I love
for
his
it
press junket for this. It has
for
been
this
so fascinating.
for season 5 specifically, but I feel like for
Mm-hmm.
every single press junket for you that he's done, he's really talked a lot about that and
Yeah.
talked a lot about how Joe's actually evil, even though
Yes.
people are,
Even though he's good looking and charming, he's still
yeah, he's
evil.
still evil. And so I think it's just a very interesting thing
Yeah.
that I think needs to be looked at more seriously from
Mm-hmm.
people. And I think you was a very cool way to do it.
Yes, I think
Um,
this is a very important show for young women to watch.
yeah,
It's a little more R-rated, so you have to, kind of see those kinds of things. But I think that is important as well because it shows just how easy it is to be manipulated. And that doesn't
yeah.
make you a weak person. Kate for sure wasn't a weak person.
No,
Like they're
love
just
wasn't weak.
these love wasn't weak. These people just they get to know you, they get to know what you are missing and they become that person.
Yeah.
And
Well, and I also
then
think it's
it shows go. Yeah,
well,
you
I
go.
just think like getting to know like the amount of things it like kind of makes you want to be a little bit more cautious about what you put out into the world also because the
Absolutely.
amount of things that Joe was able to just find on Beck
From
when
two
he
posts.
from two
From two
posts,
posts.
yeah, like I think it's just so fascinating how much, and then he came into meeting Beck with
With
so
so
much
much knowledge.
prior with so much knowledge, prior research that I just think it's just I don't even know. I don't even know. It's just it's so important to be on the lookout because it could
Mm-hmm.
happen to anybody.
Mm-hmm. And I
And
think
I
that's why the show was so important because it was so realistic. It wasn't like some magical land or some dystopian universe. Like it was happening now, kind of a thing.
yeah,
And I mean, we see in the news, these kinds of things do happen.
yeah,
Like women get killed by their partner
all the time.
all the time. Like I think it's one of the top causes of death for women.
Yeah, no, I
Like it's terrifying. And I think especially this last season, it really showed because you had all this buildup and all this love for this character. And it
mhm,
really showed how absolutely insane it was to like this person. Like
yeah.
it was done so, so well.
It was. And I don't know because I really had no clue how it was gonna wrap up, aside from the commentary on like the social structure of everything. I had
Yeah.
no clue how it was going to wrap up or anything. And quite like this is I think one thing that was just crazy. The whole time it was all happened like the whole like as it was going down and I was trying to figure out what was going on, like how it was going to end, whatever. I just part of me just wanted it to be, and when Joe started writing the book, I think that's where I was like, wait, is this just a book? And I was like hoping that Joe wasn't actually
Mm-hmm.
that like it would
This
come out
evil
that this was a
person.
back
Yeah.
like this was just a book.
Yeah.
And so it's just interesting because it's just, you like I was rooting for Joe in that moment. Like I was like, please just let this be like some weird novel that somebody named
Yeah.
Joe had written or had written about or something, like, but and so it was just crazy how, and then at the very end you're like, holy cow, why did I
Well, and
why
that's the
did
thing. It's like a big question for this final season was what is Joe's ending going to be? Like what is right for Joe kind of thing.
yeah,
Is
yeah,
it dying? Is it going to jail? Is it, getting off and finally being able to love truly like like what is the correct arc for him? And there
yeah,
were so many people who wanted him to get away. And
yeah,
to me too, to a certain extent. Like
yeah,
there is just I don't know. I just think it's so interesting. And like back to the book thing, I think it is so interesting and it showed how we need to be aware of the content we're consuming because he was writing a book that were his murder fantasies, Not saying that every book about a murderer the writer has these murder fantasies that they're putting it on into a book instead of actually
yeah,
doing. But it makes you question what content you're consuming and what are, the what's the word I'm looking for? The I don't know. The like why can't I think of the word? The
projections.
th- no, the like reason you're doing something. What's the word I'm looking for? Anyways, like
I don't
what is
know.
the reasoning behind why they're doing this? I can't think of the word. There's a word
Motives.
for it. Motives. Like what's the motive? That's it. That's exactly it. What
Thank
is
you.
the motive behind this book or behind the writer when they were writing
Right.
this or this TV show or this movie or this song even like it makes you question kind of what is the content you're consuming and what does that do for you and what does that do
Yeah.
for the person and I don't know. I think it was so well done.
I think it would, yeah, I just think there's a lot of like after it, there's a lot of self-reflection to look back at and to really kind of reevaluate where you stand with a lot of that kind of stuff. And so I just think it's very interesting. It's just kind of I don't know. And thank goodness Joe ended up in jail. Like we can, you know,
Not only did he end up in jail, he got his thingaling shot off, which I originally thought that's kind of cheesy. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like, but hearing like Penn's and the directors like their like reasoning behind it, it makes so much sense. Like it makes so much sense because he was a sexual predator. I feel like
yeah.
that's one thing that we kind of
Don't
glossed
even,
over throughout
yeah,
a lot of it was
yeah.
yeah, he was a murderer, but he was a sexual predator. So I think I love the ending. I think they did absolutely the best thing they could have done.
No, I agree. I really like, I think it was very well done. I think a very important show to watch. Um, for so many reasons, like we've said. There's just, you like if each season has so much to look out for and to be cautious of.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think of Beck, like of all the people that he ended up dating between Beck and Marianne, I feel like they just were so there was nothing, out of the ordinary behind them. You had love was
Nothing
crazy.
particularly special. Yeah.
Yeah, love was crazy. So, crazy attracts crazy, whatever. And Kate had
But I
had a
mean,
checkered past as well.
yeah. But I mean, even like in the initial love, like what's that? Love at first
Lust.
sight.
Yeah.
There was nothing special about them. And I think it's interesting because you look at all the women and there is every kind of woman in
Hmm.
this show because it
Yeah.
was not about the woman. And I think that is also a really important lesson. Like it
It's
does not
not
matter who
yeah.
you can be a victim to this kind of a thing.
Yeah. 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 But I just I don't know. I just think that Beck and Marianne especially, there just was nothing about them that would have thought to attract anything crazy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Um and it's a very very interesting thing about the world. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, this is getting long, so we have to stop again. But
Yes,
I think everyone should watch You. I think it is a very, very important show, especially for young women to go and
yes,
watch.
I agree.
Um, and the ending was perfect. I loved it so very much.
Yeah,
And it was terrifying. It was crazy and terrifying and
absolutely.
incredible. So everyone needs to go watch You. And I think that's it.
I think that's it. It is more on the R-rated side, so
Yeah,
be
so be
cautious of
aware.
that. Um,
But I think that's important too. I think it is important to show the entirety of the situation. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
I agree.
But it is more R-rated. So
So watch out if you're gonna
yes.
just blindly go into it. But
Yes, be aware.
overall, there's a lot of things to take away from it. I loved how they wrapped it up. I'm so glad that they really showed you like you really just you couldn't root for Joe Goldberg at the end.
Yeah.
And I think that was good,
Important. Yeah.
important. I think Penn would have probably just
I don't
been
think he would have
done
done it. I don't think he would have done it.
if they couldn't have just really ruined
Yeah.
Joe's character
Yeah.
because they needed to do that because
Yeah.
literally if Joe Goldberg has no haters, Penn Badgley is dead.
It's
You
dead.
know, like
Yes. And shout out Penn Badgley. He's so talented. I feel like
he
he's
really
getting his
is
flowers now because he deserves it so much. He's so
so
talented.
much. He really is, and so it's just what a fun, I guess interesting decade of his life.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's so many other things that we could talk about another time about just the intricacies of him having to act with only an inner monologue,
That's the thing.
basically.
My favorite videos are the you without Joe's inner monologue, and it's just silence. He's just staring the
He's
whole
just
time.
staring. But it's very interesting. There's so many like technical things with that could be discussed. But
Yeah.
overall, I just think it was very, very good. A great show.
Very important show.
Recommend for sure.
Yes. But go follow us on your preferred streaming platform, subscribe on YouTube, follow us on social media. It's just
Yeah.
801 Diaries podcast everywhere.
Um,
Um,
Let us know. Send us a text or DM or comment if we should do book club.
yeah, because I'm
Because
down
if
for book club.
because if one person says they'll do it, even if that person is Maddie, who is right next to Abby,
She's right
close.
there.
If she says she'll do book club with us, we'll do it for everybody.
Or Judy. Judy, do you
Or
want to do book
Judy.
club with us? Do you want to read Hunger Games with us? I know that's your dream. I know that's your dream because you love the Hunger Games
You
so
love them
much.
so much. It's your
So
favorite
much.
thing ever. If anybody wants to do it, quite honestly, Abby and I will probably at least do book club ourselves, but we'd love
Yeah,
to
we'll
have
be
everybody
probably be
else
doing it
there
anyways, but we would love to have friends doing it with us.
because that'd be fun. And
Yeah.
we can talk about it. So
Yes.
let us know and then follow us everywhere. And
We could also do midweek episodes of book club. So it's not like taking up all of
yes,
this
that's a good
time because we
idea.
have other things to talk about. We could do midweek book club. Anyways.
We're down.
We're down.
We'll pump out more content if you guys want book club.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Alrighty. Well, we'll see you guys next week.
Bye.